Hey everyone, Cassie here with Kenra Professional. We are gonna show you a long layered haircut. So my first step in any haircut is diagnosing my client's hair. She's got fine hair, but she has a ton of it. I'm gonna use the pearl detangler to detangle her hair and make it really easy and manageable as I'm combing through it. My first section is going to be a profile section, which means from the front hairline middle all the way through to the nape middle. What's nice about the comb like this is that it has a little bit of almost like a pick at the end, which is really great when I'm trying to get nice, clean parting. So what I'm doing right now is I'm pulling her hair all the way back. I'm combing her hair all the way back away from her face. The reason I'm doing this is that, you know, a lot of times when we're parting the hair, we have it already kind of somewhat split and it makes it difficult to get a nice clean section back. With the hair all combed backwards, I'm gonna get a nice smooth transition through the hair with my comb. So now that we have her part to the crown, now I'm gonna identify the middle part and the back of her neck. I'm gonna start my comb here, and then it's just a straight line to that point. I'm going to split her hair. Basically, I'm gonna split her hair into 4 quadrants. It's gonna give me the most control of the hair. So I'm gonna identify right behind her ear, there's a little bone back here that allows me a good identifying mark. So when I'm splitting hair from front to back, where the hair will naturally live. So I'm gonna start back here by subsectioning each of these sections and working my way up. So I'm gonna take about a good 1.5 inch section in the back. I wanna have enough hair that I can get myself a nice good guideline. So now I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna look at it as 3 different compartments. It's so important that we're not cutting really beyond what first of all, our cutting tool can go, and also really past our second knuckle, right? Taking my first section, taking about a nice inch. I wanna be able to see that I've taken off some length, but not so much that she feels that she can see that I've taken off length. So now you can see I've created this nice solid baseline, which is going to give me my guide for the rest of the length of my cut. So again, I'm approaching each of my sections kind of in thirds, working this back middle first. So pro tip, it makes it so much easier to part the hair when it's combed in the direction in which you're parting. So because I am parting in this direction, I'm combing the hair in this direction and taking my part in this direction. So pro tip, when I'm cutting hair in a straight line and I don't want it to kick up, I make sure that I don't push my fingers up so it doesn't create a bevel. So by keeping my fingers straight down, I'm making sure that my line stays straight all the way through. So now we're ready to introduce the sides. The most important thing that I'm looking for is just to make sure that I'm, again, connecting front to back. Because really, when we think about it, her length in the front is mostly from this point, and nothing's gonna be shorter than that, right? So I take a nice diagonal forward section, and then I'm going to just drop it back just to make sure that it connects front to back. So as I bring it back, I'm just looking to see if there's any hairs that need to be connected, and it looks like we're pretty good. Now you'll see with her, I'm not over directing, I'm just laying it back. So I'm just letting it drop back as opposed to moving it out of its actual natural fall. So as you can see, we've created a nice strong baseline. So now that we've cut her length, we're gonna move right into the layers. Okay, now we're gonna start into the long layers. First and foremost, and I get asked this all the time, is how do you know how long or how short to go with your layers, right? Like how do you determine, is it just a up in the air, this feels good feeling? No. I determine where those lengths should be by gauging from my shortest length as far as my perimeter is concerned, which is always going to be this section that connects the front to the back. So I take a little triangle from this section. I don't want to go below this point, but I want to get like a good amount of hair to give myself a nice visual representation of this length. So I'm taking a little triangle section right here. And this gives me a little bit of an idea like how long I can go with the layers and still preserve, not cutting into the perimeter of the haircut. Now I'm gonna take a section from my first section, which would be in the middle top of the head, right here. And I'm gonna lift that up. I'm gonna play a little comparison game between these two sections. How much can I take off of this piece so that I can make sure that I preserve my foundation length, but also take enough layers off to give me that lift I'm looking for in the long layers. Now, because I use this as my guide, I shouldn't really have to be cutting anything below the occipital bone, right? Because that's what that matches up to. And that again is what's gonna give me the preservation of her length and the bulk and weight of her haircut. So my first section and guide for my long layers is to moving that out. I'm actually doing a full profile section. I am lifting it straight from the top of her head. Square layers means I'm going to create a square on the top. So the whole thing is super preservation of length and maximizing the strength of the cut while adding layers. So this is my first section right here. You can see my guide. Now, next section, I'm just gonna connect a little bit more hair to that. So now I'm going all the way to the bottom. Probably not gonna have much to cut off of this area here, but I just wanna make sure that my connection goes all the way through. And again, I'm lifting the hair all the way up. Boom, and I just have this little tiny bit right there. So my next section, I'm gonna take radial parting. It's the next section over. I'm gonna take a little bit from my previous. Once again, just 90 degrees straight up. So you can see now that we have one side completed, even as we brush it out, you can start to see the looseness that we're getting. We're gonna get some volume out of these long layers, which is what we're going for. So now as I move into this section, again, I'm working radial partings, and now I'm using my original part, my original section, my guide again, and I'm gonna work taking a little bit off of it and a little bit from my next section to work my way through, again, always in a 90 degree as I work my way around. It's important that you're not taking too much hair from the next section, that when you lift it up, you can see your guide through it, right? So I wanna make sure that I'm taking enough hair so that I'm working through the cut, but I also wanna make sure that I'm taking not so much that I can't see my guide. Now that I've completed that, my next step is going to be cross-checking. So I've cut in a radial, so now I'm gonna cross-check in a horizontal sectioning. So I'll just cross-section through just to make sure that everything matches up from that point. And I'm gonna do one side to the other side. And this again is just, you know, making sure that my work is clean and that I don't have any pieces that may have gotten missed along the way. And I see just a little couple pieces that I just wanna do a little point cutting on. Now my first section for the top is I'm actually gonna use my original guide from before, and I'm actually gonna work all the way from that to the front, just to give myself a guideline for the front section. Always making sure that your client's head is straight, because that is also your guideline, right? So straight across, building my guide now to the front. Taking my radial section, radial parting right here, working off of that angle. Again, I'm gonna be lifting it all to a 90-degree angle, straight up off the head. And then just a little bit from my prior, for my guide. I love to do a little bit of face framing. So the first thing I'm gonna do is get a determination of how short of a face frame, where I want it to begin. And on discussion, she was willing to go with a little bit of shortness, just kind of give it a little bit more action, a little bit more texture around the face. So we're going, you know, below the chin, about an inch or two, and I'm just gonna pull it out and take a little, boop, little spot right there, just to give myself a guideline. Now, because I'm going to work that into the length. To do that, I'm going to work opposite of the head. So I'm going to pull it across opposite of where it grows. It's going to give it the most length. I'm pulling the furthest away. And then also too, what I'm creating is short to long. So it's going to flow off of her face. It's going to kick back when I blow it dry. Bringing it again all the way over, across to the other side. When I'm point cutting like this, I want to make sure that I'm closing the scissors as I pull away from my fingers so that I'm not cutting my fingers off. Look at that nice angle. It's just really gonna open her face up, and it's just gonna kick back and look beautiful. All right, so now same thing on the other side. Taking a little bit from each side as my guide, and I'm gonna cross over onto the other side to do the same thing. So now that the haircut is complete, I'm going to use a little bit of the Luxe Shine Oil. What's nice about this is it's gonna give me a nice slip, make it really easy to blow dry, super shiny. I'm just gonna run that through her ends. Then I'm gonna add a little bit of our blow dry spray. Blow dry spray is nice because it will help to speed up the blow dry process. So now I have her completely blow dried, and now I'm gonna go in with just a, 1 1/4 inch iron, just to give it a little bit of volume. And again, just to accentuate where the layers are laying. I'm gonna use our design spray, which is a 9-level hold. So just a light amount of the design spray. So taking vertical sections, I'm just gonna do kind of a light beach wave, but I wanna give it a little bit more curl than a traditional beach wave. So I'm not going to wind it out and make the ends flat. I am gonna curl the ends. So this is our final look for Convalia. What do you think?
I love it.
Awesome. I hope you loved it too. I hope you loved learning the long layered haircut, and thank you so much again for suggesting it to us. Again, if you guys have suggestions, please leave them in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to Kenra Professional for more education videos.